Thanks for having me.
I mean, you dropped us a little note a while ago, and you sent some information about the company, the fact you'd been doing some market research and so on, and then you sent in the other day your
curriculum.
I read it, and I wanted to know whether you wanted a job. It's quite. I mean, you're not that old, are you?
No.
No, not like me. You've done an awful lot in a relatively short period of time.
Well, I try to. I like to keep myself busy.
And what about, because you're involved in so many different things. I mean, we could go through the list, but we've only got an hour. Because of all the diversity here, what is it about business? What part of business are you really sort of stuck into?
Sure.
The thing that rings your bell.
So the thing that rings my bell is really helping businesses solve business problems. So I basically, my real passion, although it's what takes up about 75% of my time, not 100% of my time, is business consulting. So the reason that we did this market research study that we're going to be talking a little bit about today is because from all the businesses that I went to go visit, I recognized that one of the common denominators was that they're not adapting their businesses to the current realities of the market. So that's basically why we did the market research study.
All right, this is going to be interesting because I said that we were chatting just now. I mean, I've been in business for many years. I mean, I didn't sort of do this. This is what happens if you don't have education. You end up doing a radio program. But before that, I was in the marine fuel business for many years, running companies and departments, and we were just saying how the way business was done and is done is so different. I mean, firstly, it's much more intense. And from the other perspective is that technology plays such a major part in today's business.
Very true. And it's changing so quickly. Everything is changing so quickly, and part of what we do is adapt businesses to the new changes in the market.
All right. And when we say the new changes, I mean, we're talking about, I guess,
different type. Internet obviously plays a huge part. There's also different types of habits that are forming along the younger generations. Different ways that they're consuming, ways that weren't mediums to consume 20 years ago or 15 years ago or even 2 years ago. I mean, just to give you an idea, 3 weeks ago, Instagram now has an option where you can buy things. You can click a button and it allows you to buy things. If companies aren't taking advantage of this, or let's put it in another way, if you're one of the first companies to take advantage of this, it really gives you a leg up compared to your competition.
So you're talking about sales. So if you're in the sales business, then you need to get your stuff put onto Instagram. So we're coming back, in actual fact, we were talking with Alex Newman yesterday, of course, with all the fracas that's going on at the moment with Facebook and placing ads and whatever, ads that are targeted. I find them sort of cheap, and I don't even bother looking at them, because most of what seems to be sold is second rate. I don't see high-end advertising coming through. Is that really how people are buying off Instagram? I mean, before I buy anything, I mean, I use the internet, but I do about 2 or 3 days research first.
For sure. Well, Instagram is in my opinion, it's very good for 2 things. If you're a high-end product, it's very good for branding. So instead of having a billboard, you want to keep your brand where your customers' eyes are. So if kids nowadays, or the younger generations, 30 years and under, are spending more time looking at their cell phone, I mean, we can see now that they're texting and driving rather than driving and looking at billboards. So that's a great indicator to say, hey, advertise where your customers' eyes are.
But the thing is, when they look at the billboards, they've still got both hands on the wheel.
Yeah. I'm not saying it's okay. I'm not saying it's okay. By no means am I endorsing texting and driving. But it's an indicator to say, hey, your customers' eyes aren't where they were 30 years ago, 40 years ago.
But come on, we've got nice electronic LED billboards these days. I mean, they're entertaining.
Yeah.
So, I mean, tell us a little about, because you did quite a substantive survey here in Panama.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about how you went about that.
Sure. So we did 1,066 person-to-person, face-to-face interviews, surveys, and we basically asked them several questions, quite a bit of questions actually. The average one took around 1 hour and 0.2, so that would be an hour and 12 minutes. And we actually compiled 750,000 data points regarding the Panamanian market, and it's all cross-referenced with age, sex, and social-economic class here in Panama. So we discussed topics such as real estate, education, where they rather spend their time being educated, different types of habits that they have. Banking is also a very interesting one, whether they want to get married or not, alcohol consumption, how much they spend in restaurants, what types of restaurants they prefer, etc. If they prefer experiences versus buying stuff.
Right. This is great because we've got a reasonable age gap here. So I mean, mind you, I'm technology oriented. I love technology.
Yeah, I mean, we were just talking about the Alexa you have here. It's
Don't wake her up again.
Exactly.
Tell really bad jokes. I tell you what we're going to do. We're talking with David DeFranco. We're going to be back with him in a minute. My guest with me right now in the studio is David DeFranco. We're talking sort of business oriented. But what we're just starting to touch on was this market survey that you've undertaken. It was quite, from what you're saying, I mean, what, about an hour or something per person?
Yeah, about an hour per person.
That's
Quite some time.
Did you have to pay them?
A little bit. A little bit of an incentive.
So, what was there anything that came out of that information which really took you back, which surprised you?
Sure. So, there were a few things that I was probably expecting, but I wasn't expecting to be as defined. So, the market research study was for people, or we interviewed people between the ages of 18 and 35. And
I wouldn't have got into it.
So, for example, the amount of people that contract or are planning to contract cable services, so cable TV or satellite TV, for people between the ages of 30 and 35, it's 84%, and then it goes all the way down to 79%, and then all the way down to 61%. So that's super important for anybody in telecom to be taking that into consideration. Every time less, and this is obviously due to Netflix, Hulu, YouTube, all these different video streaming services that are getting more and more important every day, and they're consuming the market share. And now Amazon is going to, or is already producing their own videos. Facebook is going to start promoting their own series. You're actually going to be able to produce a series and put it on Facebook.
You know what, I'm getting a headache already. Like, why? You see, this is one of the things I find very, very confusing, or not confusing, probably annoying, is that why can't Facebook just be Facebook? Why do they have to be making series? I mean, why? Everybody seems to want to be doing what everybody else has done. We've got so many chats now. You've got to chat on Facebook, you've got to chat on Instagram, you've got to chat on WhatsApp, you've got to chat on Telegram. I mean, it's getting a bit stupid, really.
Look, I think, in my opinion, the younger and younger, not the younger and younger, but the bigger market share that Facebook and Instagram and all of these social media outlets or mediums start taking, it's still extremely ripe for disruption. Everything is still completely ripe for disruption. I mean, the market share is, it's ripe for disruption. I mean, it used to be that TV channels and radio in this case and everything had a huge market share, and it's still incredibly important, especially for branding. But Facebook and Instagram and all of these are, it's like Google. It's like, why didn't Google just stay as a search engine? It's like, well, every other industry was so ripe for disruption that Google it wouldn't make sense for them not to get into it.
But they've innovated, haven't they? I mean, this is what I'm sort of saying, if you like, Google innovated due to their success into other areas which were new, which were refreshing. But what's happening now is that people are going into stuff which has already been developed and sort of getting on the bandwagon. You know, why has Facebook got a chat? You can use WhatsApp.
Sure, and they actually own WhatsApp.
Well, that's true, yes. But are you finding with the younger people that they're totally reliant on technology? Could
Yes.
they survive? Could they survive in my world 40 years ago in business?
I think people underestimate our generation. I think we're very quickly, we adapt very quickly. And I think we wouldn't have a problem adapting. It will definitely be like a shock for us in the beginning, but I don't think it would be an issue. I would obviously, we were just talking about it before, interpersonal skills would have to be much more developed than what they are now to be able to survive 40 years ago in a business environment. But
When you actually have to deal with different people's personalities.
for sure, for sure.
And I guess it's a two-edged sword as well, because it's also up to the older generation to be more involved in technology. I know a lot of them shun it and turn it away. What about, you showed me a little clip just now, which I thought was absolutely hilarious, with this older guy interviewing this
The younger girl.
And she was just on her phone all the time, and he's asking her questions, and he says, you know, do you know Excel? No.
PowerPoint?
No. And well, what do you know? Well, you know, Instagram, and she reeled off all these names, and he said, well, what about Facebook? She said, oh no, that's for old people.
Exactly. That's where we share our pictures for our relatives.
Well, there we go, you see. So, you know, Cambridge Analytics just got old people's information.
Instagram is where all of young people's attention is spent now. In the market research study that we did specifically for Panama, 50% of people say that Instagram is their number one place where they spend their time on their phone.
Why is that?
Well, Instagram allows you to share videos. It's like it's specifically made to share short videos.
Right.
It used to be images, right? And Facebook used to be more like for text and articles and these types of things, and some pictures. But Instagram, our generation likes to get a lot of information in a very small amount of time. So Instagram, so they say a picture is worth 1,000 words. How much is a 15-second video worth? So it's a great way to basically download a whole bunch of content into your brain, get that immediate gratification.
All right, let me ask you this question then. Why? Why do you have to post everything on Instagram? Why, you know, why is somebody going to be interested in your 15-second or video, or you know, we were just saying, or what you had for lunch, or watching your cat go out through the cat door? I mean, everything's been trivialized, don't you think?
The reason if we look at it from a scientific point of view, every time that we see that we get one like, it's a little shot of dopamine that we get in our brain, and it's scientifically studied that people can get addicted to this, and every time more and more the generation is more dependent on these types of immediate gratification and social gratification as well.
What else did you find in the survey?
All right, so something super interesting is that we realized here in Panama that 44% of people between the ages of 18 and 23 are considering or actively consider taking online courses rather than the typical traditional school system or university system that we've been seeing for the past 100 years.
But I can't get my head around the discipline with online courses or their validity. I mean, surely you're not going to come out. I mean, you've been to all sorts of. You've been doing all sorts of sort of degrees and actually, let me just read, because I did sort of find this. Let me try to find it. Talk amongst yourselves for a while. I mean, excuse me, probably, but the qualifications, I did love this. Entrepreneur of the Year, Panama, 2015, and then highest TOEFL score at the FSU History in Panama. Was that actually there or online?
That was a paper-based TOEFL.
Okay.
Yeah.
Physical.
Yeah, I had to go.
Only person at my university to assist MBA classes while still in my bachelor's degree classes. President's Award for Educational Achievement signed by George W. Bush, and then I love this, and it's 5 gold medals for competitive violin.
Yeah, that's actually a very well-kept secret.
Not anymore.
Exactly. Yeah.
I thought that's amazing. So you're a virtuoso, right?
Oh, no, I mean, I used to do, I was in the school orchestra back when I lived in the States, and I used to do competitive violin. I used to be in a competitive orchestra, and
But it had to be competitive, didn't it?
Yeah, of course.
We're talking with David. We're going to take a piece of music, and we're chatting with David DeFranco. And I mean, but this is it, isn't it? I mean, everything is changed. The unfortunate thing, and I tell you what, be careful, because you'd be surprised how quickly you go through your life.
I'll take that with a grain of salt.
Yeah, because it's time really does fly, and I think the thing to do. I mean, my advice is get in where you can. Look at opportunities. I mean, that's when if I was to look back and I look at the simple things, it might be just a question you ask, or it might be somewhere that you were at a particular time. It can change your life.
Absolutely.
It's as simple as that. And when you were doing your market research, I mean, was there this sort of, we mentioned, but this dependency? I just feel everybody is dependent now on sort of the internet, on the technology.
Absolutely.
It's like people say, oh yes, well, radio's fine, but that's out of date. That's dead. No, it's not. Because what happens when you have the next major conflict? The first thing to go is going to be communications, and then you're going to have to listen to the radio because they'll be the only guys left. But it's a fact. Everything is so reliant now on the technology. What if somebody cut the lines across the Atlantic? Then what are you going to do? You've got to be street savvy.
For sure.
Are the younger generation getting sufficient social intercourse that's necessary?
Well, I think sufficient in a different way, but not the way that we've been used to in the previous years. I think we're very keen on what type of pictures are going to get the most likes on Instagram.
I find it so sad. I'm sorry, I find it so sad.
Well, I mean, it's definitely different, and now we can socialize with people in this way or in different ways, or get to know people completely online and then meet them in person. So, for example, I had the opportunity so there's different influencers in the world of business around the world, and I follow one from Silicon Valley, and the guy coincidentally had a layover in Panama, and I saw on his Instagram feed that he was in Panama at the airport, and he said, I just got stuck and I'm going to be here for a couple days or an extra day. And so I just sent him a message like, hey, you want me to show you around Panama? And I ended up meeting this guy, and now we're doing some work and stuff. But these types of social relationships, and now we're friends. Now if I'm in LA, I'll go and say hi to him.
But this is exactly my point, isn't it? I mean, this is going back to the days of my business where we actually did business with people. And I mentioned you. I had one of my traders who sort of said, oh yeah, I know this guy, don't I? I said, no, you don't know. When did you last go out for lunch with him?
For sure.
When did you last sit down? What does he like to drink? What does he like to eat? How many kids has he got? Do you know his wife's name?
You get your foot in the door, and now we're sitting here having a chat person to person. Sure. And these types of relationships that are being that are coming up every day are becoming more and more frequent. Thanks to social media.
But isn't distance a problem with that? Because let's face it, you talk to somebody now on the other side of the world as if they were your next door neighbour.
For sure.
So it's and I don't know. I think we're sort of how is this playing a part in business? All of, with the Instagram and sharing your photographs. Where is this relating to? If I've got a company here. And let's say I'm doing what I used to do, field broking and trading and operating trucks and ships or whatever, how's that going to help me? Where does that come into my background. I mean, I'm going to have a web page, obviously.
For sure. So the webpage is obviously very important, and so for example, hiring talent, branding yourself as a good place to work, as a place with not only a dividends vision, but with a social vision and a positive vision, and explaining to the world how you help would be an incredible tool for you to hire the most qualified talent. I don't know if in Panama, but in the region or in the world even.
Mm-hmm.
So the first place that, for example, if I get an email from someone, the first thing I do is I go on their Instagram feed or on their Facebook feed, or look up online what other people have to say about this person, or look up their LinkedIn recommendations, and that allows me to make much better decisions. So if it's specifically in the fuel industry, which isn't something that it's not most of the cases as far as small and medium-sized businesses go. Branding to find talent, the best qualified talent, and for example, explaining to everyone what type of eco-friendly initiatives you're having within the company is also super important.
Okay, so I mean, obviously we didn't have all this when I started, but what I would do here, for instance, the type of people that I needed to employ weren't here.
Okay.
So I created. I'd find a guy that worked for a ship agency company that had a relative adventure, and then I would take him in and I would train him. And he's now a big wig running a company in Houston or whatever.
Wow.
And he
Excellent.
started with us. So I mean, you've got to look deeper. You've got to look at the people. What I need to do is I need to have you sitting down in front of me, and I need you talking to me, and I need to know. That's the way I find out what you're like. I can tell if you're lying, or if you know, or what type of personality you've got, and I would rather see somebody that really wants to work and is
Hungry.
showing some is hungry,
Absolutely.
and has got a grounding in what he needs to know. But I'm more interested in the personality. But you're not going to see that on Instagram or on Facebook. Or the guy might be a right arsehole. Put it in French.
Well,
You know.
I think every time more and more we're going to start, seeing more authenticity online. I think that's definitely a key factor, especially in the business world. You're going to have to start being much more authentic on whatever you're doing online. So for example, Snapchat is an excellent way to see what happens behind the scenes, because you can post up anything on Snapchat and it's going to be erased in 24 hours. Obviously someone can take a screenshot or whatever, but it's just a place where you can see what happens behind the scenes, see how it really is day to day, and for example, that would be a great place to put bloopers and to really show the authenticity behind
We would have quite a big account, wouldn't we, Yasmin, if we did bloopers on this?
But it really, when you open yourself to this authenticity, you engage at a much deeper level with your audience.
I mean, let's all right. Let's use another. Let's look at the. If you go to, I've never been on one. I must admit, but I would imagine when you go onto a dating site on the internet,
Okay.
you don't know what you're getting, do you? What's the difference?
Yeah. Well, I mean.
But you see what I'm getting at. I'm a person to person. I like to sit down. I like to make relationships. I might like to make friends. I just feel that there's getting a distance. And you were telling me another thing on your survey, that these young people don't drink. What kind of people are they? We're creating monsters.
Yeah. So something super interesting is that. So these were segmented into 5-year blocks, and
Right.
in every 5-year blocks, 5% more people are not drinking. So it went from 15 to 20 to 25% in the span of 15 years.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
And not such a bad thing, I must admit.
Yeah.
So what are they doing?
I will plead the fifth. I think I'll take a plead the fifth on that one. But I can't speak on behalf of everyone in my generation.
And all right, we're sort of coming up towards the top of the hour, David. But now you've got all this information.
Sure.
What are you going to do with it? I mean, you go in and you advise companies. Obviously, this
Absolutely.
is your
And
your forte.
we're completely we're giving this market research study away, completely free. It's basically to help.
Is that to Cambridge Analytica or is it to somebody else?
No, it can be really to any small and medium-sized or even corporate business
That's
here
great.
in Panama.
That's a good tool.
So I mean, if somebody wants to write on your Instagram,
Mhm.
hey, send me the market research study, we'd be more than happy to
That's
get in
interesting.
touch with them and,
Because it's
and
quite
send
in
it to
depth
them.
as well. So,
Yeah.
so I mean, what's it, a loss leader for you, or
A what?
a loss leader? I mean, if you it obviously took you time and money to get the
For sure.
information, and so if you're just going to give it away,
It's branding.
it's branding.
Absolutely. Getting.
I could do with a bit of that.
Absolutely. We're doing a little bit of branding, and we always like to give first at the company rather than ask first. We like
Sure.
to give first,
That's
and
nice.
then
That's a good attitude.
absolutely.
Let's go back in it. David, it's been great having you. We're going to have to get
No,
you
thank-
back again.
thank you so
because,
much
I mean,
for the
you've got so
opportunity.
many, you've got so many arrows in your quill we could talk about that you've got experience in. So we'll no doubt get you back.
No, thank you for the opportunity, really.
And in the meantime, go out and do a survey. How many people listen to the breakfast show? I know where both of them live, so. Thanks a lot for that, David.
No, thank you.
And that's David DeFranco, and I'm sure he'll be back with us again in the future.